So you're thinking about starting a podcast in 2025, but not sure which editing tools to use, or you'd have a podcast already that you'd want to level up. So in this video, I'm going to break down top 5 editing tools that you need to know, covering AI powered editors to pro level softwares and beginner friendly options. Whether you're doing audio only podcast or you would have a full video podcast, I'll show you exactly what works best right now so you can save time, sound amazing, and grow your show faster. Let's jump in. Alright, so these are the top 5 editing tools for podcast editing in 2025. Whether you are doing solo podcasts, whether you are doing with some virtual guest, or whether you are doing it in person, these tools are going to be very helpful. You can either send this video towards your video editors, or if you're editing videos by yourself, this is going to be very super useful. So the first podcast editing tool I'm going to talk about is Descript. So those who are not familiar with Descript is an AI powered #1 tool for podcasting at the moment. So let me go deeper and show you that what this program can actually does. So what you can do is you can invite your guest on a podcast by sharing a link. They can join just like a Zoom, and you can record them, but in a better quality compared to what you do with your Zoom or Meet recordings. You can record the meetings and everything like a podcast or an interview. After that, once the recording is done and everything, you let your guest go, and you would automatically get a transcript of the whole podcast that you have recorded. So what you can do is, by selecting the text, you can actually do the editing. So let me just go a little bit deeper and show you that why this tool was built. So this tool was basically built for the non-linear editors, someone who are new to editing, or someone who don't want to go into the complex editing things and all that stuff. So the Descript is designed for those people. If you want to, like, let's say, just remove all the pauses, and ums and all that stuff, the filler words, it has a button that you can automatically press, and all the ums and as and all the pauses would have been gone. And the second best feature that I am very fond of, and I have used it a couple of times, is the overdub tool. So this is going to be very special. Let's say if you have said a date, like let's say you talk about something and you talk about the dates wrong. So what this tool can do is it can listen to your podcast, adapt the tonality, and can rephrase the sentence, reframe the word, or whatever you want to change. So let's say I said the date wrong, but later on I realized, oh man, I just screwed it up. So no need to worry. It's gonna take your tonality and it can overdub that word or the whole sentence for you. So like, this is super crazy. The third most interesting part is the text-based editing. So the text-based editing was introduced by Descript back in, if I'm not wrong, 2022. It was very fun. People were going very crazy about it. So what it does is basically like, you don't have to put cuts or add any cuts. All you have to do is just pick a paragraph in the editing tool and just press the delete button. The whole sentence from the actual video would have been gone. So it's like you are writing your scripts in a Google Doc. If you delete something, it can at the same time delete that same thing from the video. Isn't it crazy? So on top of that, it has all the features like creating reels for you with adding captions and all that stuff, so that you can promote it on your social media. It can also get you the audio version of the podcast, so you can scatter it around the Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everywhere else. So if you are a one-man army, you can start with Descript. This is going to be super beneficial. Plus, it's not that expensive. You can start with the basic plan, but it might not cover the AI features like text-based editing and all that stuff. But if you buy the creator or the business plan, this is also not that much, like $25 a month. It's nothing for someone who's plan to do the podcast for the vision of having whatever the goal they would have in mind, to get clients or build authority or credibility. I think this is nothing compared to that. This is like a cup of coffee, I believe. So yeah, this is some of the tools that I've mentioned, overdub and all that stuff. So it's pretty handy, pretty easy. Let's go to the second AI tool, which is my personally favorite, Adobe Podcast. I'm sure you might have seen a couple of reels about it, that it would take your choppy or very very noisy voice and can edit it up and make it like a studio professional thing. But that's not the case in most of the scenarios. It doesn't work like that. It might even make your voice sound robotic if your audio is like too bad and too noisy and all that stuff. But what this tool can actually do is, if you have a studio recording mic like this one, or someone any of the Rode or any Shure and stuff like that, and your intention was to make a super clean podcast. You just want to make the audio experience much more professional and experienced. So you can just use the Adobe podcast tool. It's super friendly. If you have a good mic attached with your podcast while recording it, this is going to be super beneficial for the people who are doing remote podcasts. This is super helpful for the people who are doing in-person recordings. This is going to be super helpful. So 100% recommended. Let's go to my favorite tool, Riverside. Now, I won't lie. On my YouTube channel, I have maybe twice or thrice times I have done the podcast. They were all remotely, once with a client of mine, and the second was a good agency owner, a good fellow, a good brother of mine, Ali. And I have recorded virtual podcasts using Riverside tool. So for those who are only doing remote podcasts and you don't have in-person guests or in-person studios, interviews, Riverside is a must. I would even say it's better than Descript. I won't lie, in my experience, this is great. So what it does is, and what makes Riverside separate than the other ones is that you send the link, like a Google meeting, like a Google Meet link or a Zoom meeting link towards your guest. Your guest accept that, and now it comes the magical part. So what it does is basically it records that video of your guest and yourself on your own computers. Like it will record my video and my audio on my computer. At the same time, we'll be chatting like a Zoom meeting, would be blurry and not that high quality. But at the same time, it will be recording the video and the audio of your guest at their own computer and storing it there for the maximum quality. Later, it will upload, it will take out those files and upload it to a server so you can download in high quality. So unless Google Meet or Zoom, this is by far the best. I'm going to 100% recommend to those who are doing remote podcasts. Even you won't believe, I don't use Zoom anymore. I instead do all the interviews and all that meetings and all that stuff on Riverside because of the quality. You can later use it for the social media clips and repurpose into different things. It's super efficient, and I must recommend that. Plus, it also offer the text-based editing. Now again, Descript was the OG who introduced it, but Riverside has the same offer, the text-based editing. You can use that as well. It also has the feature to clean up the audio itself, but it's not better than the Adobe podcast, so I would recommend you for that. But for recording videos and all that stuff, it's great. Making clips, it's great. And giving you the show notes and all that stuff, I would highly recommend Riverside. You can try that out. And again, it's not that expensive. The market is very competitive at the moment, and you won't see the prices like they used to be back in the time, like 2-3 years ago. The prices are like under $20 to $40, which is I believe nothing compared to what they offer. So yeah, you can check that out, and this is super great. I would highly recommend you that. Now let's move to our tool number 4, the greatest of all time, the GOAT, the OG, Adobe Premiere Pro. Now again, this is not tools for the beginners, but this is a tool which you cannot resist while you are editing a video podcast. Now, why would I say that? Because this is something that we do use on a daily basis, and we do all the trailer editing and all that stuff in this tool. We also use the Adobe After Effects for all the animation, all that stuff. But for the basic editing, the audio thing and all that stuff, we do Adobe Premiere Pro. It's super efficient. But again, it's not a friendly tool. Someone who's very stepping into the podcasting and all that stuff, I would not recommend you that. Unless you have a dedicated team, this is a tool that I would recommend, and we use that on a daily basis. More professional. Even Hollywood movies gets edited on the Adobe Premiere Pro. Now they use DaVinci for colors and all that stuff, a competitor of Adobe, DaVinci Resolve, but we still use Adobe Premiere Pro. It works great. It's amazing, and it's a must tool in 2025 if you're doing podcast editing. Let's move to the tool number 5, which is actually extension, or like you can call it like a plugin. So Autopod is a plugin that gets attached to the Adobe Premiere Pro. It gets linked to it, and here comes the magical part. What it does is, if you have, let's say, in-person interview, and you have one camera dedicated to person A, one camera dedicated to person B, and then there's a wide angle camera for covering both of them, and you have the recordings, and you have their separate audio tracks and all that stuff. It's a lot of mess. when we when this tool was not there and we were editing podcasts, what we used to do is we open up the timeline of the podcast, we manually get all the 3 camera angles, and we manually add the cuts and showing guest expression when the guest gives some expression or talk something, and changing the camera to back to the host and all that stuff, and sometimes showing the wide angle where both of them are talking and all that stuff. So this all used to done manually inside the Premiere Pro. But thank God to Autopod, what it does is it just takes all the camera angles and all the audio tracks, you just link to it, and in like minutes, like the time we used to spend hours on by manually clipping and adding the cuts and all that stuff, it can change the camera angles, sync up the voice. And this is a must tool that your in-person team should use, and if they're not aware of it, tell them to. This is amazing, and I would highly recommend that. Plus the new features involve social clip creator, so it can really adjust the frames and take the video podcast into social media vertical reels. It's really amazing. It has the more technical things like J-cut feature and L-cut feature, which are more like in person, more like professional things. We're gonna not cover into it, but it offers a variety of features inside this. Except Adobe Podcast, all of these services are paid, but they're super efficient. They can save a lot of time. I'm going to do a little recap. Descript and Riverside and Adobe Podcast for the people who are doing remote podcasts. These are the must tools. If you take my suggestion, I would recommend Riverside for the remote podcast. And in person, you have to hire a studio, or you can set up your own studio in your house or office or wherever you want to do it. But for editing it, I would highly recommend Adobe Premiere Pro and Autopod to really speed up the process. So yeah, that was it for today. Top 5 podcast editing tools in 2025. Let me know if there's anything else that you want to know about in podcasting and YouTube, and I will cover that in the next video. And if you want to work with me or my agency, the link is in the description. You can just check that out, check out my portfolio, and you can reach out to us there. I'll see you in the next one.